Welcome back to another Out of the Park 24 Detroit, that's the word, Detroit Tigers sim. The Tigers are 55-44. We are on July 29th, 2024. So we're right around the 2024 trade deadline. And we're looking like a pretty solid team at 55-44. Run differential does not think we're as good as a team. Our run differential is only plus 10. So we're 4 over our Pythagorean expected record based off of the Pythagorean. And we are atop the wild card, up by 2.5 games. You can see there's a whole cluster of teams here from us down through Cleveland. And then even Boston and Oakland still looking like possible contenders for the wild card. We're now 6 games behind the Twins. This has not been our best month. July has been a little rough for us. You can see we're 9-13 in July. Our runs scored, our offense is just really, really slumped. We're now 11th in the AL in runs. You can see our starters ERA, which has been an issue this year, is now 12th. We have made some moves to bolster our rotation, though. Bullpen still looking strong. So we're second in the AL in runs allowed. So the pitching has been carrying us along with the fielding, where we're third in zone rating. But it's really shaping up to be a trade deadline where I'm not entirely sure what else to do. And I'll get into that. But first, we did trade JD Martinez. If you recall in the last video, Martinez was just off to a terrible start. More than really a start. It was like 2 months. It was like early June. So it was 2+ months. And we had guys pushing for his job. So there's some trades we made. I'll get to those in a second. So we ended up trading on June 12th, which was like 4 or 5 days after the last video ended. We traded Martinez. We retained 70% of the salary because that's just like what we had to do, and threw in like a minor league catcher who don't really see much of a future for. We basically got back a lottery ticket, DJ Hers. Looks like he could be a dominant reliever, maybe even a starter, with the 35 stamina, but he's going to have to get his control under control. He's going to have to work on his control to really be an asset at all. He's walking 6.3 guys per 9 right now in high A as a 23-year-old, so that's not great. But, man, you get that control up to like 35. It's a long shot given his age and where his control is at. And his history of walks, you can see here, through the minor leagues. He's just never really put it together. So don't expect much, but basically this was a way just to free up 30% of Martinez's salary. So we didn't eat the whole thing when we DFA'd him. And we did call up Justin Henry Malloy, who is one of the top hitting prospects in baseball. You can see he was the number 5 prospect now. And he has played in 37 games for us and just been beast. 165 WRC plus and 1.4 WAR across 37 games. Now JD Martinez has gone to Chicago and just decided he's really good again, which yes is annoying, but oh well, it didn't work out for us. Sure, you only had 2 extra base hits and 148 plate appearances for us with a 24 WRC plus, and now you've got 14 extra base hits, assuming he doesn't have a triple. I assume he doesn't have any triples. 14 extra base hits and a 134 WRC plus in just about the same amount of plate appearances in Chicago. But whatever, it's done. We needed him out of here. I would have loved for him to turn it around for us, but we just didn't have any more time to wait because our offense sucks right now. Even with Malloy's efforts that you see, our offense is just, it's tough. And part of that is Javi Baez is out again. Baez has missed 4 weeks with a fractured cheekbone. He's now been out since June 30th. Like he was back like less than a month, I think. And he went out with a fractured finger. He's got a week left. And the shame of it is he's having a really good season for us. In 43 games, he has a 128 WRC plus. You can see there are 2 other big injuries here too. I'll just get into those. Casey Mize, he went out with a sore shoulder and missed 4 to 5 weeks, and then on his rehab assignment tore an elbow ligament. And he's now out for 10 more months. And here we are in July. So major bummer. I don't know what the future holds for him with the organization, but that's more of an offseason discussion. Ty Madden, another young arm who has spent a lot of time in Detroit for us. His ERA was 6.15 this year. FIP and SIERA were way better, and I'd actually optioned him. but a guy who threw 67 innings for us last year, was in the mix this year, and just a young pitcher who we had some hope for, and he tore his flexor tendon. He's out for another 8 to 9 months, so that's a bummer. Let's get into the offense, and I'll talk to you about some of the things like that we're looking at for the trade deadline. We'll sort by WRC+. You can see Justin Henry Malloy here just lapping everybody. Zach McKinstry, another solid season, like looking like he's basically saying, yeah, dudes, I am a starting second baseman in this league, and I'm going to be pretty solid at it. And we're like, okay, Zach, thank you. And then the rest of it, the rest of it is like, there are hardly any black holes in our offense, but we just have a bunch of like league average dudes, which makes it tough to know where you want to upgrade because there are not like superstars out there available for trade. So I can go out and get some guys. I'm like, well, maybe this will be better than what we have. Maybe it won't. And I'll show you more of that. But that's kind of the dilemma, is that it's like there's not clear upgrades out there, but we also have an inadequate offense right now. Jonathan Aranda is honestly, he's had 2 hits in 3 of his last 4 games to get his WRC plus back up to 109. It was right around league average. And he was one of the guys I'm thinking of moving on from. Then he has a few good games and he's third best hitter on my team. I mean, this is all just like a cluster. Oh, McAfee, we don't need you popping up in the middle of this video. No, we do not. It's just, we'll get into that more, but Muncy has trailed off a good bit. Riley Green, fine season. He's fine, but he's just, well, we don't have, we have Malloy, and then we have a bunch of guys who are like fine. And that's not good enough. You need more bats to be a serious contender than just one masher. We need another star level bat in this lineup, and it's not here right now. Max Muncy has trailed off. Green has not become a star. Meisner's a solid bench outfielder. He's been really solid for us. Spencer Torkelson, honestly, running out of patience with him. On a different team, maybe we could have some more patience with him. But to be a league average player again this year on an offense that is struggling with a team that needs a jolt to stay in playoff contention, first base is one of the areas I'm looking at to upgrade. But again, I'm just not sure there's an upgrade that's definitely better than Torkelson out there at this point. Travis d'Arnaud has slumped down to a 97 WRC+. Enrique Hernandez, fine utility guy, right around league average. Parker Meadows plays like a gold glove center field, so we're fine with this. Is he still playing? Yeah, he's playing decent center field. He's a really good center fielder. If he wants to have a 91 WRC+, we're totally cool with that if he's playing a good center field. Parker Meadows is not the problem. Randy Arozarena, an example of the problem. An 86 WRC+ so far this year and 387 plate appearances. He has been bad against righties, not a ton better against lefties. At one point, his splits were way more severe than that. If you heard some hesitation in my voice as I looked at this, I was surprised because he was, for a while, just terrible against righties but hitting well against lefties. But that at some point over the last month or so since I looked at his splits has changed a bit. Now in July, he's up to a 101 WRC+. Really just May was right. April was good for him. May was horrible. June, you're going to have months like a June with an 85 WRC+ over the course of a season. Like that just happens. And now he's back to league average in July. So maybe it's not like time to hit the panic button on Arozarena. Maybe it was just like a terrible May. But at the same time, he's got a 432 BABIP this month. Like what happens when that goes away? So, yeah. Ryan Kreidler is up because Baez is down and he's the only guy who has the range to play shortstop. And he's been fine. With as good of a shortstop as he's played, he's got a positive 3.2 zone rating in 47 games. Cool, man. We can deal with that. But what we can't deal with is having a bunch of weak bats around him, too. Like, I mean, he's about to play half a season worth of games and put up a 1.3 WAR. So what, like a 2.5 win player if he played every day? That's fine as a glove-first bench bat. Now, his only role on our team really is as a starting shortstop when Baez is hurt. Otherwise, he's probably not on the team. Austin Hedges, has been miserable, and it's like, well, why in the world wouldn't you get rid of this guy who's a -4 WRC+ on a team who has bad offense? And the answer is because he's good defensively, even if he is below replacement level, and he's our captain, and I don't really want to disrupt that chemistry. He's the only captain on the team. He's only one of 2 leaders on the team. I don't really want to disrupt that midseason, even if Dylan Dingler is down in AAA hitting really well. Maybe I'm just too ingrained in like out of the park way thinking, but how much captains help you in this game, I'm just not sure it's a net positive to get rid of him now. So that's the offense. And, again, like going down the lineup, like I don't know that Muncy, we need to upgrade third base because he's decent. Torkelson, probably that'll be a place we'll look to upgrade. McKinstry is fine. Henry Malloy is fine. Justin Henry Malloy. Riley Green, he's solid. He's solid. But the thing is, like, if I could bring in a superstar to replace him, same thing with a lot of these league average guys like Muncy, Green, Torkelson, Darno. If I could bring in a superstar, I'm in. But if as we look at the trade block, like it's just not out there. And I've gone shopping around for other guys. Like once the Padres are probably not gonna make the postseason. Soto hasn't signed. I went and just tried to make an offer to them, and it wasn't a great offer, but I just wanted to get the temperature, and they were basically like, yeah, no chance at all. Get out of here. We're not trading Juan Soto. Now, I'm sure I could give up a ton to get Soto, but I don't know if this is the year to go all in on a Juan Soto rental. I think this is a really good year for us, and I'm happy that we're 55-44. I just think that maybe this isn't the year where we trade from the depth of our farm system and, deplete our prospect haul, or, not deplete, seriously put a dent in our prospects that we have in the system just for like 3 months of Juan Soto when there's so many question marks with this team. I'm not trying to like give you this like play it safe GM speak that we get way too much in real life baseball, but that's kind of where I'm at. I'm just like, is it worth giving up like 2 top 100 prospects and like 3 or 4 other really good prospects for 3 months of Juan Soto when this team just doesn't seem like this is the season they're going to win with our lineup being so average? I don't know if Soto is enough to put us over the hump. So that's my thinking. And so then when you look at non-star players, it's basically like, man, are we sure they're going to be an upgrade? Do we really want to give up prospect capital and push a league average player out for a guy who may or may not be league average? And I'm talking about guys like Rowdy Tellez. Who else? There are other guys out there. I'll show you. But we have upgraded the pitching because we did so at a reasonable price. And our rotation's now Alcantara, Quintana, Severino, Erod, and Alex Cobb. How's that for a veteran rotation? I mean, not all of them are veterans. I guess Alcantara, is kind of younger, although he's a veteran at this point. And Alex Lang did miss a month with a shoulder injury. And I'll show you these trades in a minute, but a big headline is here. We've called up the number 4 prospect in baseball, Chase Dollander. I'm not throwing him right into the fire in the rotation. I like for pitchers to get some experience in a long relief role first. He's only thrown 6 innings, hasn't gone great with a 9 ERA and a 6.91 FIP. The Sierra at 3.14 suggests if we can get this 3 home runs per 9 to normalize a little bit, that he's going to be just fine. It was just finally time to pull the trigger on him. I had a lot of my younger arms up, a couple top 100 prospects up. They weren't getting the job done, so back down they go, and it's Chase Dollander's time. So Quintana was having a really good season for the Mets. He put up 1.9 WAR and 3 R WAR in 100 innings. He's a free agent after the year. He's come over for us, and his FIP and Sierra are great, but the ERA is 5.32 in 4 starts. So what did we give up? Good question. Let me remind myself. We gave up Tyler Johnson, who is a 24-year-old outfielder who was barely playing for me in AA. He's now in AA for the Mets. Not sure he's more than a depth piece. The price was a little low here, I feel like. With a couple of these trades, I've been thinking like, should I bump up the difficulty or notch or two? I might do it. Ronnie Chalice here is a 21-year-old pitcher who is not going to be more than a bullpen arm. OSA is a bit higher on him in terms of development and stuff than my scout, so perhaps they see him as a future bullpen arm. He's in A-ball right now as a 21-year-old. That darn back button. And then Dylan Smith is a decent enough looking pitcher that I believe if the Mets are a little higher on him than my scout, which OSA is not, but if the Mets are, I believe that they see a major league pitcher here. He was in Double-A for me and had put up maybe he was in Double-A for them. He was in High A for me and had put up a 1.99 ERA. And now he's gone to and then he was in Double-A for me, I think, and was relieving. Now he's in Triple-A for the Mets, and he's in their rotation. So I guess that's what they saw in him. So they got 3 prospects back for Quintana, who was having a nice season but on an expiring deal. We then got Luis Severino from the White Sox, who are out of the race. We got them to eat 25% of the deal. Severino will have a vesting option kick in for $15.8 million if he throws 180 innings. I think I kind of want him to, honestly. He's on pace for 206 right now. He was having a great season. 3.1 WAR, 3.8 RWAR, 2.63 ERAs. Only made 1 start for us. So if he starts pitching poorly, I think I can pretty easily throttle down his innings. And we'll just kind of play that by ear as we get into it. So what did we give up for him? You would be really impressed, not by what we gave up for him, but the fact that I am checking substitutions on an Instacart order while I'm recording this video. So I'm sorry if I get distracted every once in a while. So we gave up a bit more for Severino, which makes sense because he's having a great year and he's got another year of before he hits free agency. So we gave up Shane Sasaki, who was an outfielder who was in High A for us, just playing well. He's now in Double-A. Oh, and he was in Double-A playing well. He's now in Double-A for the Sox. So a decent outfield prospect there. Luke Gold was a dude who I just have never seen much, a very high ceiling for. And neither does OSA, but other teams just always asked about him. He was always a guy they're like, well, this trade won't work, but if you throw in Luke Gold, we're good. His name came up a lot. He was having a league average season for us in High A ball as a 23-year-old. He's now in Double-A for the Sox. We also traded Carlos Marcano, who was probably the most likely to have, I think, a long-term impact at the major league level. The guys we trade. He's just 21 years old. He's only going to be a bullpen arm with these 2 pitches. So while he looks like a good pitcher, probably will be a solid major league pitcher if he can continue on the path that he's on. Giving up a reliever is just not a big deal to me. Never going to make or break a deal. And then we also gave up outfielder Austin Murr, who is 25, and he's in Double-A, which is where he was for me too. So we gave up that package of 4 prospects. I think Marcano is likely a major leaguer. Sasaki and Gold, I think they might get some major league time in this sim, but unless they take a step forward, I don't think they're going to be impactful major league players, according to my scout anyways, right? So Severino, we brought him in. He's now in our rotation. Eduardo is in our rotation, pitching well. Sandy Alcantara, the ERA has taken a bit of a hit lately with 4, 5, and 5 runs. The ERA has gone from 3.54 up to 4.02, but still a solid fit. Sierra. Strikeouts have crept up a little bit. He's on pace for 4.5 WAR and 4 RWAR. Successful season for him. It hasn't worked out. I'll show you more on that trade maybe in a future video, but it hasn't worked out badly for the Marlins either, who are in first place right now. We've got Lang. We've got Barlow pitching well. But Jalen Beeks, 49 innings and a 0.92 ERA. The FIP just 2.08. We offered him, he's a free agent. I offered him a 2-year deal. It's only $5 million, and he was up for it, and he's going to get back to me. So that'll be a steal of a deal. Pacheco, Vasquez, De Jesus in the bullpen. Joey Wentz is back. He was injured earlier in the season. He got roughed up a little bit, but then had gotten his game on track with 2 straight starts of 1 run and 3 out of 4. But with the pitching, with the acquisitions we made, Wentz is now in the bullpen, but certainly ready to be called upon and pretty confident in his abilities if we need another starter. So let me show you this trade block that we're talking about, because we're up to July 29th. We have an inadequate offense. What are we going to do about it, man? I don't know for sure. It's a fair question. It's one that I'm still thinking through. You can see if we go to trading block and we look at all batters, we've got Jose Trevino, a catcher. I suppose we could go out and try to upgrade catcher, but He's here because he's a defensive wizard, and he's not going to offer us a bat upgrade, which is what we need. Robles, Arcia, not big bat upgrades, but like Rowdy Tellez, right? He's got a 92 WRC plus in Cincinnati. Even in that ballpark, he's not crushing the ball too much. He is a leader, but like, are we sure he's an upgrade over Torque? No, I think he's probably the same dude. He's like a league average hitter at first base. There were a couple other names that have caught my eye. Rhys Hoskins is one who's in Colorado, but I mean, he signed a minor league contract with them this offseason after not playing in 2023. Oh, right, because he has the torn ACL in real life, and then he got non-tendered. Wow. Okay. But he's in Colorado. He's decent, but he's not even starting for them. I think he's one of the more likely that I'd bring up because, I think his value went down after the PCL thing or the ACL, and then he's done pretty well in limited opportunities for Colorado. But he also could come over and not be great, right? Now, anybody could come over and not be great, but he's not a superstar, right? If you have a star or superstar you trade for and it doesn't work out, like whatever, stuff happens. But I think the most likely outcome of Rhys Hoskins is he's about as good as Torque. So that's kind of like what the deal is here with who's on the block. And like I said, I've looked at other guys and like Juan Soto. I even kind of jokingly, half seriously sent an offer to the Orioles for Gunnar Henderson, and they laughed at me, of course. I think there's a couple guys who I could possibly look at, but it's really it's dark out here for a trade deadline. And I don't think that's the end of the world, right? Because I do think, while my instinct is always like to push chips in this kind of situation, I don't know if this is the season to do it. Now, I could go and be like, all right, screw it. I'm going to trade Torque, redo first base. I'm going to trade Arozarena, redo right field, and a couple different things, right? I could do that, but I try not to like do a whole bunch of that in the middle of the season. I don't really know how realistic that is. Well, I guess realistic is a tricky word, because certainly like, maybe AJ Preller would do something like that, or all these GMs who make wild trades, maybe like the Mariners and the Padres in real life would make a bunch of trades with each other at the trade deadline, like revamp half their lineup. But I just don't think that's generally a likely outcome for a major league team. I think that's the kind of retooling, not rebuilding, but redoing of a lineup that I prefer to do in the off season, just for like, because I think it feels more real to me to do it that way. So I could go and do all that right now. I think that's probably what needs to be done, but I'm just not going to, I don't know, just kind of feels cheesy to do it right now. So then my options are like, okay, well, do I bring in just some like dudes who probably aren't an upgrade? Or do I just like not do much, which also feels lame? So I've got a lot of lame options here. I'm going to keep poking around. Like I said, there are a couple of dudes who interest me. Like the Cardinals are they're 4 games under 500, but only 4 games out of the NL Central. They're only 2 games out of the wild card. But would they possibly be, given how many teams are here, would they possibly be willing to trade Paul Goldschmidt? I think it's a conceivable situation. But Goldschmidt signed an extension where he's got 3 years left for ages 37 through 39 at $27.4 million. Do I really feel like taking that on? I don't know that I do, y'all. I really don't know that I do. So I'm going to mess around here, like just look through stuff, look through like just who we can trade for. Like, would I love to bring in Pete Alonso for a Mets team that is just brutal? Yeah, I would, but he's 29-year-old first baseman who signed at least through age 33, maybe through age 35. I don't really know if I feel like taking that on. Not right now. I think there will be better options that present themselves to me for long-term first base in the offseason. Or maybe Torque's going to play like an MVP the rest of the way. So I'll look around here. We'll get into it. But that's kind of, I just wanted to explain to you guys that I feel like I have a bunch of lame options. I'm not totally happy with whatever option I pick, but I'm not going to do like the trade Torque, trade Rosarena, trade this guy and that guy. I think in the offseason that could come. It's not going to happen right now, but let's see kind of like what does happen and what I'm going to do. It is now August 1st, so we had a fairly uneventful trade deadline. I made one minor-ish trade, and I'll show you why I decided to make the trade. So, in a nutshell here. So our team OPS is 729. Against righties, our team OPS is 741. Against lefties, 701. It was 699 when we made the trade on, I think, the 30th. So it's already paying off. Our OPS is already up .002. We've won the trade. So yeah, I have way too many lefty bats. So I had too many lefty bats in there against left-handed pitchers, and I have a bunch of guys who are really bad against lefties. And I know I was saying I have all like those league average players, but a lot of them, if I play more of a platoon game, which I was already doing, but now I'm really leaning into it in terms of like I acquired a righty bat that we're going to look at in a minute. Not a huge bat. I didn't trade for right-handed Juan Soto, but do that as well as set my lineup so guys aren't in the lineup as often on the weak side of their platoon, I guess you could say, right? I know it's not what a weak side platoon is, but I think, a lefty guy who I had out of the lineup against lefties, but I still played him every fourth or fifth day. I'm cutting that out. I'm leaning into playing into the splits a lot more, and it might not give guys as much playing time over the course of the season as I want, but I think the team overall, I think that could be an improvement that goes beyond any player that we brought in. Who did we bring in? We brought in Teoscar Hernandez, who, as you can see, has a 122 WRC plus against lefties this year. Overall, he's got a 104 WRC plus. Pretty poor WAR. I'm assuming that's like bad defensive. No, I mean, defense isn't. Oh, he's actually hardly played in the field. It's just because. Oh, I guess because he's DHing. So 104 WRC plus as a DH is not going to do a lot for you. Last year, we're still on splits here. Last year, he played in Seattle and was exactly league average as a hitter with a 100 WRC plus. And he's actually bad against lefties. But he's hitting lefties better this year, and he has hit lefties well for most of his career. We needed a left-handed bat to DH against lefties. So Teoscar Hernandez will be that guy. And other things we did, you can see almost all of these here, I just went like if starter tired. No more like playing Riley Green every fifth day, every seventh day, whatever, against lefties. No more playing Jonathan Aranda every seventh day against lefties. Because I mean, look at these guys like Aranda, a 20 WRC plus, Muncy with a 26 WRC plus. Muncy's now on the bench against lefties. Malloy is going to get time at third base. Enrique Hernandez is going to get time as our left fielder. Should we put Riley Green probably as like a defensive sub here because he's a really good left fielder? So Parker Meadows is a center fielder and he's in there for his glove, so he'll keep playing. But really, it's going to be way less playing time for Green, Muncy, and Aranda against lefties is one thing, and a lot more playing time for Teoscar Hernandez. Now against righties, leaning into those other things more. Torkelson is actually going to be on the bench for now. He's going to play every third day. I don't know why I exactly have that. So I mean, he's not a 95 WRC plus. He's decent against righties, but I don't really have anywhere better I could take him. I guess I could always like bench a Rosarena and send Malloy out to right field, Aranda to DH, and Torkelson to first base. That'll happen some days with the way I have the backups here, but in general, I'm going to go with this. We'll see what Torque does. I mean, it's just like, come on, man. You can't be a league average hitter as my first baseman. So again, leaning into the splits here of giving Aranda more playing time because he's got a 127 WRC plus. Let's actually back Torque off to every fourth game. And Malloy is playing every sixth here. He's going to sit every seventh. We just want to make sure he's basically playing every day, and he should. McKinstry, Green, Muncy, all these. Well, I guess Muncy, Aranda, Green. You can see they're really like unplayably bad against lefties, and some of my best hitters against righties. So we're going to let them shine against righties, and that's going to be about all that they play for now. They're going to be heavily platooned, and we'll see how that goes for us. We're going to get Javi Baez. So we got Javi Baez coming back. We're leaning more heavily into the platoon splits of players and playing them way less against the handedness that they struggle against. And we also brought in Teoscar Hernandez. I guess you might want to know what I gave up for Teoscar Hernandez. He's a pending free agent. They did eat 50% of the deal, which I wanted in case I had other trades that ended up coming. I ended up not making that, and I probably gave up an extra prospect because of that, but I feel fine about the guys that I gave up. I gave up Justo, 21-year-old who has a decent ceiling actually, but I mean he's only 21. He has played some in rookie ball, some in high A ball, never really done much. Maybe he's a second baseman, maybe he can play corner outfield, but I was fine getting rid of him. That bat has a long way to go at the age of 21, and his defensive profile is such that like I'm not sure he's a major leaguer with that defensive profile and this ceiling as a hitter. And the next guy that I gave up here is Cabrera, a pitcher, 23 years old. He's pitched between high A and double A. He was actually putting up a decent season for me in double A with the 3.18 ERA across 62 innings as both a starter and reliever. But at 23, if you're like a fringe starter in double A, like, you've been kind of maybe in the bullpen, maybe as a starter at almost 24 years old in double A, like I'm okay giving him up. But certainly I can see why the Diamondbacks were maybe interested in this guy. He's putting together a good season. He's young. He's an arm. And then, so I proposed these two guys first, and they said, no, we must have Angel Cruz to make this deal work. And I said, whoa, that's asking a lot. I don't know if I can give up Angel Cruz with his, 30 potential contact and 30 potential power and this 50 infield range. That's asking a lot, but I thought about it, and I decided I was okay giving up this stud. So, hopefully this doesn't come back to bite us. So those are the three guys that we gave up. Not really too worried about giving up any of them. Of course, stuff could always happen. Maybe Angel Cruz will be a star. That would actually be really funny at this point. But it was obviously a deal that I was going to be willing to make. So that's the club. Everything else is the same. I didn't bring in a bullpen arm. I thought about it, but honestly, like Pacheco is a guy who just had he gave up six runs in 0.0 innings, and his ERA was 2.61 in early July before that. So, if you're just looking at ERA, he jumps out. Wentz jumps out, but has been much better recently. And Chase Dollander we're given some run to here because we really think he could be a hugely valuable contributor here down the stretch if he can get his act together. He's getting some major league experience. So on Tuesday, August 1st now, we're 7 back of the Twins. We're first place in the wild card. Let's see how this season turns out for the Tigers. Let's see if we can keep the magic going and make the postseason. All right, it's now September 1st. Things are going fine, not great. July was 10-15. August was 12-16. See, runs scored. We're still just 10th. Starters are struggling. Bullpen's still pretty strong. The bullpen is really top heavy. By that I mean or maybe it's back end heavy. The back end of my bullpen is awesome, and then I guess the front end of the bullpen, bottom of the depth charts, 2 or 3 guys. I've been cycling different guys in and out. The main reason for this update is because I'm going to make it's not a controversial roster move, but a roster move of some consequence here on September 1st. I did call up Andre Lipschitz, who you remember from last year. He was up with us, and in 270 plate appearances, put up just a 75 WRC plus. He's been down in AAA all year, and he's just crushed it. 140 WRC plus. He's a righty bat, so he's going to go into the lineup against righties against lefties. He's crushed lefties. He's crushed both, but he's a righty bat who can crush lefties, which you need. He's going to go in as the DH. Teoscar Hernandez, who has not been very good with the 75 WRC plus, but we still believe in him. He's homered in 3 straight games. He's going to go into left field, and Enrique Hernandez is going to be on the bench now. So to take a look at the time frame, August, you can see Enrique had just a 46 WRC plus. Riley Green was terrible. Spencer Torkelson was terrible. I'm on July. But I think a lot of that stuff is actually still true. Let me see. Enrique Hernandez, terrible, 52. Riley Green, a 28 WRC plus, terrible. Torque was a 79. But Travis d'Arnaud down here, 82 games, negative .6 WAR, a negative 4 WRC plus. And he's now down to negative .8 WAR on the season, or negative .6 WAR in the season with 370 plate appearances. On pace to start 117 games. I didn't realize, I guess, after his hot April how bad he's gotten until July when he did the nosedive. But, the 147 was awesome. That was great. 85 WRC plus, we can deal with that. 77, 73, okay, that's like the floor. We need you to be better than that. But if you have a month like that, cool. But to follow up the 77, 73, negative 4 WRC plus, we can't really deal with that. And yeah, I guess some of it's BABIP driven this month with the 212 BABIP, but dude, your entire slash line starts with 1. We're trying to make the postseason. On top of that, his framing has cost us 7.6 runs. His zone rating is negative 5.5. I think we need to DFA him. I'm not too thrilled about it. He is a leader. We spent $7 million on him, and his April was great. His May was okay, and it was slowly downhill from April until August when he just fell off a cliff. And we're going to go out on a limb here, I think, and call up Dylan Dingler, who is not a top 100 prospect and I don't believe has been. No, he hasn't been for this whole sim. But he put up a 113 WRC plus in Toledo, 425 games. Great defensive catcher. I think he's going to come right in and start for us because obviously Austin Hedges is not going to start for us. There's some risk in this. You can see, like when Dingler went up to AAA last year for half the year, he was terrible. So there's a possible adjustment period here, but it's a risk we're going to take with how bad d'Arnaud has been. Standings-wise, we're 7 games back at the Twins. I don't know if that's happening, even though we had a chance to make up ground on them. I mean, they went 12-13 in July and 11-15 in August. Like, the Central is there for the taking. And, we have just dudes like Green and Torkelson just sleepwalking. And, at some point soon, it could cost us a postseason spot. We're half game up on the Angels in the wild card. We have fallen down into this 4th and 5th spot at times. Our run differential is bad. It's minus 17. Like, we're not that great of a team. We're plus 5 on our Pythagorean. Run differential says we're a 63 and 67 team. So it's been a rough second half. Our offense is bad. I think under normal circumstances, I'd be looking to fire my hitting coach. But of course, I can't do that because AJ Hinch retains full control over hiring and firing the hitting coach. So I can't do that. And I'm not going to fire Hinch now. Is it on the table depending on how this next month goes? Just because I want to be able to hire a new hitting coach? Totally on the table. 100% on the table with how things have gone. But maybe Dylan Dingler is going to come in, turn it around for us, guide this pitching staff. We did have an unfortunate injury to Alex Cobb. He's out for 2 to 3 more weeks. He had a 1-month injury with bicep tendonitis. He's had a really solid season, 23 starts. He's put up 2.5 RWAR with a 3.61 ERA. The FIP is 4.02. Really solid season from Alex Cobb. So what that means is Chase Dollander joined the rotation, made his first major league start. It was probably on national TV. He went, because I have him limited to 75 pitches, which I think I should probably up that a bit now. That was minor leagues. To be honest, I just forgot to take it off for his first major league start because it didn't really matter when he was in the bullpen. But I don't hate keeping him that limited to protect his arm, quote unquote. I don't know if limiting pitch counts actually limits pitcher injuries in this game. It might be a whole lot of biases that Daniel Kahneman in Thinking Fast and Slow would say I'm subscribing to here. But it sure seems like to me when I have pitch counts on that there are fewer pitch injuries. Maybe just confirmation bias and other things here. But he did go 4 1/3 and give up 2 runs. He walked 3, struck out 3. It wasn't a great start, but he was good enough. And we won the game 7-3 against the Rockies. So he's in the rotation. Cobb is hurt. Jose Quintana, by the way, 10 starts, an 8.39 ERA. Now the FIP is 4.73. He's had some terrible batted ball luck. His home runs are through the roof. His BABIP is through the roof. But yeah, so roster expansion has is upon us. We've called up Lipschitz. I guess I could just call up Dingler and like bench d'Arnaud. I kind of want to call up an extra arm, but maybe that makes more sense because if we have an injury, like d'Arnaud, it's a good fallback option. So maybe that'll be first plan. I was planning to call up like Brant Herter or one of these bullpen arms like DeJesus, Del Pozo as an extra arm, but maybe it actually makes more sense to call up Dingler. Oh, wait, but I'm going to have to DFA somebody to make room on the 40-man. Oh, so maybe actually I am going to DFA him because Cobb, I'm not going to put him on the 60-day. Yeah, I mean, Yuji Rosario was really... I'm not controlling him, and they sent him to AA, which is interesting. Jake Rogers, I think, is a DFA candidate after the season because he's in arbitration and about to start making $2.2 million. I suppose I could DFA him. Yeah, maybe it's Rogers I should DFA because I don't think he's coming back next season either. And I think d'Arnaud as a leader, even though he's not my captain, still has some value. Yeah, I think we're going to DFA Jake Rogers now that I think about it to make room. And we're going to call up Dylan Dingler. There he is. So Dingler will come up. We'll put him in the lineup as our starting catcher. And we'll get on with this pennant race. Let's go Tigers. Let's make the postseason. Well, my fellow Tigers fans, we've reached the end of the regular season. And we've won 85 games, but fallen one game short of the final wild card spot. We went into the final day of the season, tied with the Rays, and we had the tiebreaker. So we just need to win or maybe lose and get lucky that the Rays lose too. We lost. The Rays won. So our season is unfortunately over. 85 wins. If you had told me at the beginning of the season we were going to win 85 games, I'd be like, cool. That sounds like a pretty good step forward for this club. And I think in some ways it is. But looking under the surface and looking at some particulars about the team, I don't buy this as an 85-win season. It doesn't feel like one. You know, one of the main reasons being our run differential was minus 34. So our Pythagorean record was 77 and 85. We just were not actually an 85-win team. We were. We did win 85 games, but we got pretty fortunate to win 85 games. When you get outscored by 34 runs over the course of 162 games, you got to catch some good breaks to win 85 games. And we apparently did, but I think that it would be erroneous to sit here and say this team is going to come back and take another step forward next year. Now, we could, but I'm just saying, like, we need to make some changes here. And we probably need to make some changes along the lines of we just won 77 games, not we just won 85 games. Because, you know, I do think in a lot of ways the true talent level of this team with how some of these players have performed or progressing is more a 77-win team. You know, we'll get into it, but, you know, if you told me at the beginning of the season 85 wins, I'd be like, cool. But if you told me run differential is 34 below, is negative 34, and runs scored, you're going to be 12th in the AL, and starters ERA going to be 13th. Riley Green, Spencer Torkelson, they're not going to have great seasons. Matt Manning and Casey Mize might not have a future with your team. If you told me all those things, I'd be like, well, shoot, this doesn't sound too good. So there are some really good things going on with this team, and I think we can be competitive again next year. But I can't just like assume that the core of this team can come back. Like this team can come back, just kind of like with some tinkering around the edges and win 85 games again. So let's get into how all these dudes did. Justin Henry Malloy, just a legend. Already a Tigers legend. 97 games, 3 WAR, 147 WRC plus. Zach McKinstry, starting second baseman until he proves otherwise. 125 WRC plus. Led the hitters with 3.4 WAR. Max Muncy, decent season, 2.1 WAR, 105 WRC plus, so just a little better than average. I mean, we were hoping for more, but this is totally suitable effort from Max. Now at 34, I don't think we're bringing him back, considering his starting quest is 4 years, $73 million. Good luck to him getting anything near that. If somebody gives it to him, good luck to them. Jonathan Aranda. I know I say it Aranda or Aranda. It's probably Aranda, but, sometimes it just comes out differently. So deal with it. He was fine as a super utility type guy-ish. He played he had 442 plate appearances and was a little better than league average. But he was really bad against lefties. He got 56 plate appearances. He should have had fewer than that. And against righties, he was a 114 WRC plus. He's a good lefty bat to play against righties. Is there room for him on the roster next year? I don't know yet. Certainly, we'll always take a guy who can be a really good strong side platoon player. But we'll see with all the moves that we make if there's room for him, because taking up a roster spot as a guy, as a platoon bat, you can only have so many players who need a platoon. So we'll see how the roster goes. Randy Arozarena, mark him down as one of the bigger disappointments of the season. 95 WRC plus, just 1.7 WAR. I mean, if we're calling 2 WAR average and a 100 WRC plus is average, Randy Arozarena was a below average player this year. That's not what we were looking for when we traded a decent prospect and a couple dudes plus Austin Meadows for him. Austin Meadows put up a 102 WRC plus and 0.8 WAR. And, I mean, he's now a free agent, but are the additional years of team control on Arozarena all that appealing with him being a below-league average player? No, they're not. Now, I do think that he'll probably be back next year, because I think we've got to expect that he's going to be better next year. It's interesting that his BABIP was exactly the same. He stole the exact amount of bases. His walk rate was actually up by 0.4. His strikeout rate was exactly the same. He had more doubles. He had way fewer home runs. You could say it's like a Tiger Stadium thing maybe, but like Tiger Stadium to righties isn't that bad. 1.06 home run factor. By the way, I don't know if I mentioned this. I think I might have in the first video. If I didn't, sorry. But I bumped the home runs for lefty up. I think it was 0.92 to 0.99. Just as like a little tinker, because they made some changes to in Detroit this at Comerica. I wanted to call it Tiger Stadium at first. If I call it Tiger Stadium sometimes, let's just roll with it. But at Comerica, they made some changes to make it a little more hitter friendly to lefties, or to in right field. So I bumped that up just a touch. So by the way, I mean, it actually plays as like a hitter friendly park almost. 1.042 average, 1.036 home run. So it's about a league average, but leans a little hitter friendly even. So, his power was just gone. And why? I don't know. Maybe a bunch of reasons. But Arozarena didn't get it done. I'm hoping that he'll be back in right field and can be a really solid player for us again next year. Spencer Torkelson, I don't know, dude. I don't know what to do here, man. Like, are the splits off? Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, he's had a 107 WRC plus last year. This year, a 94 WRC plus. You need a better bat from your first baseman. I mean, it's just not good enough. It's just not good enough, and he still is only 25. He could still have that breakout year, but I don't know. Is it going to be with us? I'm just not sure that it is. Batting splits wise, he was equally below league average against lefties and righties. And so I don't know if he's back next year as our first baseman. I'd love for him to come back and bust out in the way that maybe, the Tigers thought he could when they drafted him first overall, the way that OSA and my scout still thinks he could. But this is a dude who has now had 2 seasons where he hasn't turned into a star. He's below league average this year, and there's probably some decent trade value out there for him. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to do with Torque. Teoscar Hernandez is on an expiring deal. He came over and was bad for us, 63 WRC plus. Bummer. Javi Baez, 94 WRC plus, 1.7 WAR in 91 games. We'll take this season from Javi. Was it good enough that some team will take on his contract? We'll probably find out this offseason. Riley Green, as big of a bummer as Torque here. Like if one of these guys had been a league average player, we'd probably win one more game, right, over the course of a season. But he's now, in 2 seasons. Last year to 79 WRC plus. This year he put up a 92 WRC plus and 0.6 WAR. He's now a 0.0 WAR player across 185 starts in the 2 seasons with us. What a bummer. Batting splits wise, he's terrible against lefties, totally unplayable, and league average against righties. I don't want to give up on Riley Green. He just turned 24. This is a potential superstar player if he can figure it out. But how long do we give him to figure it out? I think at least next season. I want things to work out between Riley Green and the Detroit Tigers. I do. Enrique Hernandez didn't work out for him here. I mean, this is fine. An 88 WRC plus is fine as a bench bat. He was pissed off. He wanted to be in the starting lineup. He really trailed off in the second half. Didn't work. Parker Meadows, fine season as a center fielder. Keep doing your thing, man. Andre Lipschitz did not convert his successful AAA season into a successful Major League season. I don't know if there's still room for him on the 40-man after this, but we'll see. Catching was a disaster. Darno was bad. Dingler was bad. Hedges was bad. I think Dingler's still our catcher next year. But, he hit really well against lefties. He had a 115 WRC plus. Against righties, he had a WRC plus of 8. An intimidating slash line of 131, 194, 213. The BABIP was 175, so hopefully that will go up. But Dylan Dingler is going to need to hit a little better. Darno and Hedges were both bad. Pitching side of things, Sandy Alcantara, solid season. 4.8 WAR, 3.5 R WAR. He had a 102 ERA plus at 4.18. The FIP was 3.46, so maybe some bad luck in there. Strikeouts coming up to around where they were last year. Walk rate was down. Home runs were down. Good season from Sandy Alcantara. We'd like another 2 good seasons from him. Eduardo Rodriguez. Oh, wait. Who am I missing? Oh, who am I forgetting about here? Oh, Quintana went on the IL. That's right. Eduardo, solid season again from him. 4.41 ERA was right around league average. The FIP of 4.74 was higher than league average. He was not as good as last year. Could we pair him with like a prospect to get rid of the last 2 years of this deal if we need to? I don't know. We'll probably find out. Him and Javi might not be on this club next year. Luis Severino did pitch 180 innings this year, so his option year kicked in, it vested. We'll pay 25% of the $15.8 million. He was solid for us, but not as good as he was with the White Sox. He put up a 3.77 ERA and about a league average FIP of 4.41 across 71 innings for us. A little scary that his injury proneness is fragile, but we'll do what we can. Wilmer Flores, the number 46 prospect in baseball, pitched 71 innings and was really good. Not really good, but he was solid. 3.93 ERA, 3.45 FIP. He came on really strong at the end of the year. He'll be battling for a rotation spot next year. Cobb, solid season, man. 26 starts, 125 innings, 3.82 ERA. He was just good. He was good. Maybe there's room for him to be our 5th starter again next year. Lang, a good season out of the bullpen. Barlow, a good season. Jalen Beeks, just phenomenal. 1.19 ERA, 2.13 FIP, a 30.7 strikeout to walk percentage. He put up 2.6 WAR and 3.8 R WAR in 83 innings. And we signed him for 2 years, $5 million. Pacheco, Vasquez, De Jesus, all fine, all solid. Matt Manning, disaster season. He was down in the minors a bunch. 41 innings, a 6.15 ERA, a 6.6 FIP. He's about to go to arbitration. And does he have option years left? He does have one option year left. So he's maybe a guy that we keep around as a depth option. But I think like the most likely scenario, if he's still around next year, is he's starting in AAA for us, which is such a bummer. But it never hurts to have potential major league pitching depth on your 40-man. So if it's not Matt Manning, it would be somebody else. We've already got him here. He's got an option year left, so he'll probably be back. I'll get into more of like next season after this. Chase Dollander, the number 4 prospect in baseball, like he definitely struggled. He threw 50 innings, The ERA was 5.40, but the FIP was right about league average at 4.22. The Sierra was excellent, 2.96. The BABIP was high. Home runs were a little high. Strikeout to walk ratio was pretty good. Got hopes for him, but I don't know if I'm not ready to hand him a rotation spot next year. That's for sure. Just to round out the 40-man, other guys who contributed. Let's see. Meisner murdered AAA. 177 WRC plus, 5 WAR. Now, he got pushed out when we needed to add a righty bat at the deadline, not a Teoscar. But he was solid in 129 plate appearances for us with a 105 WRC plus. Akil Baddoo, yeah, he's a good depth player. He did his thing in AAA and never got caught up. Same with Kerry Carpenter. Did his thing in AAA. He hit 26 bombs with a 136 OPS and WRC plus, but never needed him to come up. Ryan Kreidler, we all know him, our backup shortstop. Yuji Rosario was fine in the minors. He was good in the time that he was up with us, but there just wasn't room for him once everybody was healthy. Let's see. Killian played fine when he was up. Castro pitched okay. Del Pozo pitched well. Wentz, it was not good from him. 6.26 ERA and a 5.82 FIP in 46 innings. And down in AAA, he put up a 5.01 ERA. He's out of option years. He's 27. It might be the end of the line for Joey Wentz as a Detroit Tiger, which is a little bit of a bummer for me personally. Brant Herter, another young arm. Well, he's 26 now, but he's got option years left. He'll be in the mix as like a long man or AAA depth, like, you know, kind of top depth in AAA. So that's the team. That's how we did this season. Just to show you what happened in the standings, Yankees, Twins, and Astros take their divisions, and then the Jays, the Rays, and the Guardians take the wild card. Nobody in the AL and only one team in the majors broke 100 wins. And on the other side in the NL, the Phillies edge out the Marlins for the wild card by a game, despite losing 5 straight and going 2-8 in their last 10. The Brewers with 84 wins take the NL Central, and the Dodgers winning 102 games, winning the division by 21 games over the Giants. And the Padres, man, rough season for them. And then so the wild cards go to the Marlins, the Braves, and the Reds. So that's the final standings. Here's your bracket. And am I going to realign this offseason? Expand to 32 teams and then realign. So it's like, I think I would just do like either one division in each league like I've done before, or maybe 2 divisions in each league. But cut down on the divisions and, mainly just cut down on the divisions. Which, the reason for that being like to reduce the chance, I kept clicking standings there, reduce the chances that you're going to have an 84 win team get in on winning their division. Like that just, I don't know. I don't love that. The good thing is there's not like a 93 win team out here that missed, right? Like that's a good thing about the 3 wild card is that doesn't happen too often. But we will get into all of that in our next video. We'll go into the off season and try desperately to improve this Tigers team. We need to make the postseason next year. Like that's the mandate from me that I'm giving myself. And I want to do it in a realistic way, right? And not just blow up the roster, but we might make some more aggressive changes though. Like Spencer Torkelson might be on the move. What do you think? But anyways, thank you guys for watching. As always, appreciate it, and I will talk to you in the next video.